Hello and welcome to the Sabrina River Folk Podcast with me, Nicola Haasz. Tonight's guest is nurse Melissa Compton. In 2019, she swam the whole length of the River Severn to raise money for the charity Versus Arthritis. And she joins me tonight on the podcast to tell us all about it. So, welcome to the podcast, Melissa.
Thanks, Nicola, for having me. I'm very excited about telling my story.
Brilliant. I'm very excited to listen to it. So before we start, Melissa, if you could just let us know a little bit about yourself, maybe where you were born, where you grew up, that sort of thing, and your sort of earliest connections to the River Severn, please.
So I was born over the border in North Wales, not near Wrexham. I was born in Wrexham and I grew up in a village not far from Wrexham. I didn't really connect with the River Severn until I was later in life, in my 30s, when I moved back to Shropshire. But I've been on the River Dee at Overton most of my life with my dad. He was a gamekeeper and a fisherman. So I've always, and as kids, we used to play in the brooks at the bottom of the village and in the River Dee. So we were always swimming and playing around in water. Yes. And then as I got older, I left the UK. I went skiing and traveling the world for about a decade, and then I came back to the UK after my dad died, and then I moved to Shropshire after I did my training, my nurse training, which I trained in Southampton, then moved here, and I started swimming in the River Severn, and I still swim in the River Severn. So that's, how long have I been up here now? I've been up here 13 years now. I've been playing around in the River Severn. Yeah.
Amazing. And I think I read on one of your blog posts that you'd started cold water swimming as a sort of you did it one day and then you kind of got hooked on it. It's one of those things that you start and you either take to it straight away or it's definitely not for you, but for you were hooked straight away. Is that right?
It is. Well, I think because I've always swam, I can remember going to the swimming pool and having my armbands on, and we were always in the brook, we were always down the river, so I've always swam, and in the sea, always in the sea. So I think I kind of moved away from swimming for a while, and did walking and skiing and stuff. But because I injured my knee skiing and I've got osteoarthritis in it, I can do the long distance walking and stuff. So I took up swimming. And yes, I've not turned back really. That was I was 36 and 10 years ago. I started open water swimming all the time. I swim up in the cold lakes of Bala and the mountains. I love the snow. The snow is amazing. I was one night I was on a night shift at work and it was snowing and I knew my friend wouldn't be able to get down to Ludlow to work. So I took my swimming kit. And I got a message in the mornings going, do you want to go for a swim? So we met at 9 o'clock and slid in the river at the Penguin Boathouse and went for a swim. And I've got these pictures of beautiful snowy quarry and me and him just swimming away. Yeah, so every opportunity I'm in there. In the summer, I'm often in the river or in lakes swimming. Yeah, it's great fun.
And I imagine that swimming in the sea is very different to swimming in lakes and very different to swimming in rivers. So are all of those environments quite different, do you think? Or is it sort of basically the same?
They're all very different. The sea has its own challenges. It's got its tides and currents and undercurrent tows. And you're more buoyant in the sea. And in lakes and rivers, you're not as buoyant. You've got those factors as well. The water's generally colder in the lakes and the rivers. In lakes, it's pretty static. You can kind of read the water a lot better. In the river, you've got all sorts of challenges. You've got changing depth. You've got undercurrents. You've got all the plant vegetation. There's pollution in the river, as you know. Man-made objects, random fence posts, the odd cow or two, lots of swans in the river. so yeah, they all have their different challenges.
Yeah,
And
sure.
getting in and out's different as well, because you have to make sure your exits and entries are safe, and make sure you wear footwear in rivers because of broken bottles. And yeah, it's they're all very different environments.
So obviously you'd been doing open water, cold water swimming for some time. At what point did you make the decision that you were going to take on the challenge of swimming the whole length of the River Severn?
So as a group of us, we were called the Chester Frosties, but hardly anyone was from Chester. And this was in the early days, and there was just a handful of us, a few of us from Shropshire, from Shrewsbury, as a girl from Ellesmere, a woman from Ellesmere, and some people from further up north. And we'd gone swimming, and we swam all the time, 3 or 4 days a week. We would all go off swimming. And then, so we did the channel as a relay. So I did the channel relay, and it was on that training and stuff that we'd seen Kev Brady already do the River Severn. And then we thought, oh, why don't I do it? And they put it into my head, and because I get a bit obsessed about things, that was the next step. So the plan was to do it before I was 40, and I did. 39 I was when I did it. Yeah.
Amazing. I suppose you've got to have that mental determination to get you through that process. So what kind of preparation did you need to do to begin with?
I swam a lot. So I had to practice swimming for hours, swimming and eating, stopping and having food, figuring out what food suited me and when, and then being cold for periods of time. So I did a lot of winter swimming leading up to that. So I'd spend quite a lot of time in icy cold water. And I'd spend hours and hours just swimming up and down lakes. I went on a training swim that was 6 hours. I had a tow float full of my food and water, and I just went up and down this lake for 6 hours. And yeah, did a lot of swimming in those times. But then I had to do a lot of river swimming as well, to make sure that I understood what was happening in the river as well. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize you actually ate your food in the water as well. That's remarkable.
Yeah, I ate my food and drank water, drinks. Yeah.
So obviously you did all this preparation work for the swim, and obviously were very experienced anyway. So starting, I think I read on your blog post that you started obviously up at the source. You went up the source and you camped up there. At what point were you able to actually get in the water? What was the first point that you got in the water?
So between the source and Welshpool, it's quite difficult to get in the water.
Yeah.
I got in the bog at the source. I did get into that bog. My friend was with me, so it was all quite safe. And then as you walk down from the source, there are areas you can get in the water and do little short swims, but a lot of it is walking as close to the river as you can, and because there's also access issues as well. So you have to be careful of trespassing laws, and being able to access the river and being safe. So it's kind of quite difficult on those sections, but you can get into the river. So where I could, I got in, but it's also really shallow until you get to about Welshpool. There's not many deep areas. And then once you get to Welshpool, then you can start swimming then. But between Welshpool and Shrewsbury, the river's quite interesting. There's a lot of overhanging trees, lots of trees that grow into the river. There's because of the flooding, it collapses banks. So you have lots of kind of shifting currents and the depth of the river. So you'll be swimming along and all of a sudden you hit this bit of bank that's collapsed, and so you have to move over. So sometimes you have to get out and walk around some sections and then get back in and carry on. So yeah, they were quite interesting. But about 2 days after I started, it started to rain, and it rained and it rained. So by the time I got to Welshpool, we were getting close to it flooding. I managed to get to Montford Bridge, and the river was okay. But it was, so coming through to Montford Bridge, it started hailing, and then there's thunder and lightning starting to build. And obviously you can't be in the river when there's thunder and lightning, but luckily we were getting to the end of that swim. But and then when I got out, it was hailstone. There's pictures of me all wrapped up in lots of dry robes, just so cold. But hypothermia was, I did it in June, so the plan was to do it in June. The river's normally okay, the weather's okay, and it's a lot safer. But that didn't happen because it rained. We had a summer flood. So I was swimming from Crew Green down to Montford, and I had to get out the river every couple of hours because it was only 12 degrees, so I was getting cold. So I would get out, get in my sleeping bag, run around, drink lots of tea, and get back in as soon as I've warmed up. But by the time I'd finished maybe 6 hours of swimming, I was quite cold, and the river would, like, you could see the water shaking around me because I was shivering so much. But I had a good team of people. I couldn't have done this without the people that were with me looking after me. You can't do it on your own. So they bundled me up. I had my hot tea, and I knew how I'd react to being cold. And I can get really quite cold before I have any problems. And that all came with the winter training, helps for this as well. And then we got down to, as we were going through Shrewsbury, again, the river was getting up. I was getting cold. Every couple of hours I'd get out, run around, drink tea. The BBC were with me at that point when I got to Shrewsbury, and they were waiting for quite a while because I got slower and slower the colder I got as well. But I had a great team. My mum was there to look after me. And then lots of people joining me in various stages. And that was quite nice. And then from Shrewsbury to Atcham, that was the last day I swam before it flooded. And it was quite nice. There's lots of swallows and house martins jumping around and skimming down onto the river, and all the sand martins. It was lovely, and the swans. So I'd be like sometimes lying on my back, just watching the world go by. My friend was on her paddleboard, watching, and you could and it was raining, so there'd be the rain on the water, and then all these birds flying around, and it was so nice, and it's really quiet, and I had a lovely time. I love quietness, so yeah, I was in my element. I was just so happy. And then when I got to Atcham, I had to sit out for a week because it flooded and it wasn't safe. So every day I'd go back down to Atcham to see it. But that also had problems because the team I'd had, we'd booked all the time off work. But then the people that could have helped me couldn't help me anymore. So I had to get all new people. So I was trying to, almost on a daily basis, asking people, putting Facebook posts out for people to help me. And people were brilliant. They came up and helped me, and I couldn't have done it without them, as I said. But then I got in at Atcham as the river went back into its bank. And swimming in near flood is amazing. It's really challenging. You have to have someone with you, and you're swimming along and you bump into all sorts of things. You see the big logs. We found a council bin at one point. Lots of rubbish and litter, a lot of logs, but you travel big distances very quickly. So you have to be strong enough to cope with that. But with that, and I could start feeling what the water was doing by the sensation on my body. So you could feel if it was getting a bit rough underneath, or what I found that when you went past a bridge or a tributary, there were sections you would struggle. We got caught by eddies quite a lot, and at one time I'd put my hand in and I bounced off this eddy. So someone would have to tow me around it, or I'd have to get out and walk around the eddy, or whichever problem. But yeah, we kind of knew what was coming up. We could predict the river to a degree, and so with conversations with my support, we could gauge what the next section was going to be like. Or with the map, you could see a tributary coming in, so we knew we'd have to take a different route, or I would have to be towed, hold on to the back, and try and get me through this section safely. But yeah, we covered some distances. I got through. We went under Iron Bridge. I love swimming under Iron Bridge. We do it in the evenings, some evenings. It's great. Yeah, You get in and you swim under the iron bridge, and it's quite magical because it's quite historic. But because it was such high flood, well, not floods, high river, we got through Jackfields as if it wasn't there. So I didn't have to worry about that. And then, yeah, it was just beautiful. Had so much fun. And I got really strong at swimming. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then as we got through, then we go down to saw an otter at Bewdley, which
Wow,
was
yeah,
lovely. I was with
yeah.
my friend then. And then my mum spent a lot of time with me as well, and I picked her up at where is it? There's a place, Upper Arley. My mum loves Upper Arley. I was coming along and I saw her feeding the ducks and all sorts of things, and met lots of people. Some people put some lovely signs out near Iron Bridge for me to cheer me on, and little packets of goodies. And yeah, it's a lot of support I had. And because I was raising money for Versus Arthritis, because I've got osteoarthritis,
Yeah.
um, I'd raised quite a lot of money as well. So people were really good. I did lots of radio uh, talks and stuff, and the TV would follow me. So it was this real surreal event in my life. And then as the river starts changing as you go further down, it gets wider, it gets straighter, you get a lot of weirs. So you have to go, but there's other channels to go through. It becomes more industrialized, quite dirty, and it tastes different, it feels different. I'd say Shropshire has the most beautiful section of the River Severn. Gloucestershire, it's okay, but you've got lots of boats on it, and it's quite noisy. Those boats, you can hear the noise in the water.
Yeah.
And then I got poorly down near Gloucester. Had to go to A&E for the night because I got quite dehydrated. So again, I had to sit out with that. And then eventually I finished it, went down through the estuary and had lots of people helping me, because the estuary is quite dangerous. So I had to, before going to the estuary, before starting the swim, I had to speak to the people down the Severn rescue people. I had to make a lot of inquiry and talk about it to people so that I'd safely get through the estuary. Had to let the harbour master know when I was going, what I was going to be doing. The Coast Guard watched me from afar quite often, and they were at the end when I got there. So there's a lot of people involved and lots of people watching me to make sure it was safe. Yeah, it's good. I really
Yeah, because
enjoyed
you're
it.
absolutely right. I mean, that whole area, especially around Sharpness to Avonmouth, there's lots of boats there, isn't there? And lots of other types of kind of maritime vehicles in the water there as well. So you have to be really mindful of that. They wouldn't be accustomed to seeing a lady coming through swimming in the water. I mean, it's just amazing, really. I mean, I think one of the things that stands out for me is when you talk so passionately about it and your face lights up. The being at oneness with the water and the nature side of it really seems to kind of have left a really lasting impression on you, you know, and I mean, I do some cold water swimming, not on your level at all, but that feeling of being in the water and being at water level, you do feel a certain feeling of being at one with the water and with the water creatures, don't you? You know, and that's a very lovely and very unique feeling.
It is, and so I'm autistic, so I struggle with social situations, and it can be
Mm.
quite a lonely experience. But being in the water and being around nature, I never feel lonely. I always feel part of something much bigger. And doing the Severn, I was around lots of people, but often when I go swimming on my own. I spend a lot of time swimming on my own, and it's a wonderful experience. And part of what I like doing because what I like swimming is people can't really talk to me, and I can just get into life, and I can't really think about much because I lose the rhythm. So it just frees my mind of everything, and I'm part of something much bigger and greater that I'm fitting into, whilst in the real world I don't always fit into. So I don't have those struggles, and it's a really lovely place to be. Yeah, it's great.
And I think we're learning more and more about the well-being aspect of being in water and around water, and the actual, I mean, you will have witnessed the massive increase in cold water and wild swimming that's happened over the last decade. Of course, it's just gone crazy, isn't it? And I think so many women and men are being called back to the water, you know, and it is it goes hand in hand with this other side to it, of course, that you would have encountered some pollution on your journey as well. What was the sort of, did you get angry when you saw lots of rubbish in the water and things like that? How did that affect you?
I think it's become normal to see this in the water. I think it's got worse, not better, sadly. And it was always known that I was going to get ill at some point doing the river swimming. And eventually I did get ill. But it's quite sad that we had to factor that into the whole swim, that
Yeah.
actually we're going to do this and you are going to get poorly at some point.
Wow.
But then you get people that blame you. They're like, why did you do it? You shouldn't have been in that. But actually our water should be clean enough to go swimming in. Because people fish in those rivers, animals have to live. And if we're polluting it, that we humans get ill, other animals are going to get ill, and it's going to kill off the wildlife and the fauna, the flora. So it's kind of, people like to blame some people, but actually you have to look at a bigger picture. We are spreading out into places we weren't before. The pollution is a lot more. We've got a lot of houses are going up everywhere. We have systems that are not fit for this many people. Wildlife is dying off, but we have to do something about it. But it's really difficult here in the summer. So I live near the River Severn now. I walk my dogs down there most days. In the summer, the river is not a very nice place to be where I am, because it's very agricultural, and you can see the algae all building up, and you see all the cowpats coming down the river, and sometimes it has this wonderful horrid smell about it. So I don't swim in the river where I am that often in the middle of summer when we haven't had much rain. At the moment it's quite nice, so you have to be a bit careful and be aware that this is happening. But I think there is a lot of education and talk about cleaning up our rivers. I think the River Severn isn't it? It's like the second most dirtiest river in the UK after the Thames.
Yeah, and that wouldn't, you know, I'm not surprised, because of course there's so many tributaries going into the Severn, with it being the longest, you know, river in the UK, that it sort of gets everything, doesn't it? You know, she gets everything. But I mean, you are such an inspiration to have achieved this, you know, and as I say, your real love of the river really comes through and really shines through. What were some of the best bits for you?
The people supporting me was fantastic. Like,
Mm.
people were really good. They went out of their way. They had days and weeks that they volunteered to come and help me, and it was an inspiration. Those people kind of are amazing, and I couldn't have done it without them. The wildlife up through Shropshire was beautiful. The noise of the rain on the water, I love that. And then just the feeling of succeeding, getting to the bottom, getting to the end. My friend had come up from Kent to surprise me, and there's all the people with me, so that was fantastic as well. Such an achievement. And I'm not great. I'm not a great swimmer. I'm an okay swimmer, and it just shows that you don't have to be amazing at something to succeed. You just have to be determined and stubborn to kind of get through. And be highly focused, and you can be mediocre or not that great and still succeed at something quite achievable. Amazing. My younger self would never have thought that I would have been able to do that.
Do you think your training as a nurse helped as well, though, with this, so that you were able to sort of be really mindful of your own, you know, health and well-being through that process?
Well, I hadn't been a nurse long, so I didn't train till I was 30, so I didn't qualify till I was 33. Um, but I think it's because I'm quite tough. So I've always been adventurous, even from a young kid. My parents used to go mad because I'd just walk off and disappear. Um, so I've always had that instinct to go off and do stuff and push myself. I've I've injured myself. I'm always breaking things or injuring myself because I've pushed myself or fallen over doing something adventurous. I'm in the mountains all the time when I was younger, so I've always had that sense of adventure. And I think it's that drive that kind of, and knowing myself, I know myself quite well, and what my mindset. And I think some of the joys of being the way I am is that I do get that really focused. And if I want to do something, I'm going to go and do it. Yes, there's some good things about being the way I am. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if anybody was interested in starting to do open water or cold water swimming, have you got any advice for anybody starting out doing that sort of thing?
Well, starting out, well, there's loads of groups on Facebook. There are loads of groups. Join a group. A lot of them are people just going for a swim, so they're not groups where you have safety. But there's lots of lakes now that run open water courses. Maybe get involved with them first. Know your limitations. Start off in the summer, and if you want to winter swim, start off in the summer and swim down temperatures rather than start in the middle of winter. And then be very mindful of what you're doing. Think about how you're feeling. If you're still okay in the water, it doesn't mean you're going to be okay 10 minutes once you get out. Because especially in the winter, you get so cold. And then you lose function of what you're going to do, and know your limits. And each person is different. And you don't always have to push yourself. Sometimes going in, just getting yourself wet and having that cold shock or just floating in the water is perfectly acceptable and actually really good for you. You don't have to swim miles. I've had to relearn that. And yeah, just put your hat, yeah, earplugs in, lie, watch the world go by, watch those clouds, or just be in the water surrounded by goodness, really.
Yeah, because there is quite a big difference between, like you say, cold water swimming and then ice water swimming, isn't there? Because there's quite a significant difference in temperature and how the body responds. But you've done ice water swimming as well, haven't you? With sort of going right down to low temperatures as well. But during the summer, when you did the Severn swim, what was the sort of roughly the temperature of the water then?
So to start with, it was about 10 to 12 degrees. So cold. That was still quite chilly. Um,
Yeah.
I was doing about 6 hours a day, but every 2 hours I was cold. I had to get out and warm up, drink tea, and get back in once I was warm. But what did happen, I couldn't drink tea for months and months after the swim because it just made me feel sick. It's a bizarre reaction, and I love my tea. Um, and then as the days warmed up, because it was June, it got a lot warmer. But it took a few weeks before the water warmed up. By the time I got into the estuary, it was lovely and warm.
And of
Yeah,
course, you swim just in a costume, not in a wetsuit, don't you? Is that right?
yeah, just a
Yeah.
costume. Um, I did once wear a wetsuit, but it's not for me. I much prefer swimming in a costume. I
And
feel
you don't put anything on your skin or anything?
no.
No.
If I'm in the sea for too long, Vaseline in the creases, or else you get chafing. But no, just my costume. Um, and I still have that costume now. It comes out every so often. Um, and yeah, it's I don't know. I quite like it. I quite like swimming in just. I don't like the wetsuit. I don't like it's quite tight, and I don't feel free enough to swim.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, sure. So you got to the estuary. Whereabouts where did you actually get out at the estuary part?
is it Avonmouth? Just
Right,
past the
okay.
bridge.
Yeah.
Um, so we got in at the boat club about halfway down, and then swam the Severn rescue guys were with us. Down past the old nuclear place, we went through there,
Yeah.
and then under the bridges, and we had to get the tide right because, but you can hear as you're swimming along. You can't see anything. You can't see in front of your face because of all the mud. But you can hear all the water washing across the tops of the rocks,
Yeah.
and it's quite frightening because you're like, oh, I don't know how deep this is because you can't see, but you can hear the water, and you have to be a bit careful because there's lots of whirlpools down there. So people went off in front of me, and I just kind of followed them under the bridges. It was lovely. I cried as I went under the bridges. Yeah, it was quite emotional.
Wow, that must have been absolutely spectacular. But also, probably that section was probably the most dangerous of the whole Severn, wasn't it? Because, as you say, of the tidal aspect of it all.
Yeah, so it's known to be the most dangerous, but because it was so prepped and done so much prep for it, it turned out not to be the most dangerous. Around Bridge North, Upper Arley ended up being the most dangerous section of the river.
Oh, really?
Because of the undercurrents. So I got caught in an undercurrent, and if it wasn't for my friend that was with me kayaking, things could have been different. But yeah, my feet got caught in an undertow.
Wow.
So that ended up being the most dangerous section because there is some nasty undercurrents around Bridge North, but we kind of didn't think about, because so much talk was about how dangerous the estuary was, that we kind of didn't really think it'd be. We knew it's going to be dangerous, but not as dangerous as the estuary. But because the estuary turned out to be quite nice.
Yeah. Wow. It's just incredible. Wow. What an experience for you to go through. And I mean, this is something I ask all my guests because of my own spiritual connection with the River Severn. But did you feel that there was a sort of spiritual connection with water? Do you have that kind of feeling towards water, or particularly towards the Severn or any other bodies of water?
No, I'm not a very spiritual person. I'm a logic type of person. I like the surrounding. I like what the river brings to you, and the areas that you go in the river. So the beauty that comes with being on the river, even if it's swimming. I paddleboard a lot on the river now. All that kind of nature around you, I like that. And up in the source of the Severn is beautiful. And especially up on Plinlimmon there, I really love being up there. It's a sense of freedom. And I've only got one tattoo in my life, and it's on my ankle, and it's of Sabrina. And it's taken from one of the fence post markings. There's a picture of her with some fishes. So I've had that tattooed on my leg afterwards.
Wow. You are the first person
and lakes.
that I've...
Oh, lakes are different.
Yeah, that is amazing. You're the first person I've heard of that has got a Sabrina tattoo. That is absolutely fantastic. It's just wonderful that you managed to achieve this. And I think from start to finish, how long did it actually take you to complete?
I think it's about 3 weeks in total, because I booked 3 weeks off work, but because I had to sit out for the flood for a week, that took a week away. I had to then go back to work for a week, and then I could finish it off. So it ended up being quite delayed in sections, but about 3 weeks in total.
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah. I have to note that the first person to swim the Severn was Kev from Gloucestershire. He did it in a wetsuit. So I was the first woman and the first person without a wetsuit.
Yeah. So he's a friend of yours, is he? You know him?
No. So I knew I read about when he did it the first time, but my friend Andy, he swam sections with him. So I got in contact with him when I was going to do it, and he gave me lots of information. So he's really handy. But he's also really handy when I got down to Gloucester and I needed support. So he managed to get people to help me, and he came out quite a few times as well, which was lovely. And he was at the end. He did the last section with me.
Oh, that's so good. Of course, the other thing with swimming Gloucestershire is the Severn Bore. Is that part of the reason why you chose to do it in June, so that you wouldn't be having to deal with, big bores and things?
So that wasn't a huge problem, because if the bore was happening, I would have swam on an outgoing tide.
Yeah.
So it would have helped me. We'd learned about the tide, what tides to go on, and how high some of the tides were. So we did plan it around making sure it wasn't a huge tide. But if it was a big tide, I would have swam on an outgoing tide. So I would have had to have timed my swims with that. So it would have pulled me out quite quickly. It'd been good fun.
Brilliant. Well, thanks ever so much, Melissa. Have you got any more sort of river swims, or any sort of things that you're going to be doing, in the future?
I'm not sure. So in 2020, I woke up one morning and I couldn't move my right arm, and I'd got spinal cord compression. So I lost the use of my right arm. It took a few months for it to come back, and I still haven't got full use. But it means that I can't do long swims anymore because of the fatigue and the pain from the damage of that arm. So I do lots of little swims now. I'm currently out with injury though. I've broken part of my bone in my leg. But I'm in the pool, but I'm going to go into the Welsh Hills once I'm well enough and get in there. I'm going to meet my friend in Shrewsbury. We're going to go swim in the Severn. I've got 2 more weeks, and then I can go out and play.
Many thanks to Melissa for joining me on the podcast.